While some prefer to sit outside of the process and criticize, I prefer to engage directly and support the things I deeply care about. I have and will continue to support leaders on both sides of the aisle. So that's his perspective on this. The SoulCycle and Equinox protests are just the most recent examples of the left using these types of tactics to slam conservatives. But the question today is it ever justified to suppress somebody's political views, and how far exactly is too far? Here to debate that is Democratic strategist Kevin Walling and America First Action Communications Director Kelly Sadler. Guys, thanks for coming on. Kevin, I want to start with you. Sure. Yesterday I talked to people from all over the political spectrum, and most of those people I talked to were Democrats, and they think that this is ridiculous. I want to know your perspective.
Yeah, Rob, I mean, I'll defend Stephen Ross's abilities to donate to anyone he chooses. He's supported Democrats in the past. He's a big fan of the president, just as much as I'll support anyone who feels strongly enough to take their money elsewhere and join a different gym or start a different class or something like that. So we need to support free expression in all of its forms, condemn it on both sides when it gets too heated.
Kelly, I mean, what did you make of this? I mean, when this started to pop up and you see people, saying that you got to quit your Equinox membership, you got to stop going to SoulCycle. I saw people online, friends of mine, that would post stuff from those gyms, and they were getting harassed for it. What did you think?
Well, I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable. Everyone has the First Amendment right to support whichever candidate they want to. And this public shaming that is coming from the left, basically trying to suppress our donors, suppress our supporters for being in support of the president, is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we have Joaquin Castro basically out dox our supporters in El Paso. These were homemakers. These were retirees. And what did it do? They hope to suppress them. They've come on your show, they've come on others, saying we support the president, we support what he's doing for this economy, and we are not going to be silenced. Our base will not be silenced. They are only emboldened by these actions, by these far left actions taken by the crazy left.
Kevin, you seem like a pretty common sense Democrat on this, but,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of the far left calls the president a fascist and calls him that a lot. They say this is like a fascist regime. And one of the central tenets of fascism is suppressing the opponent's belief, pushing it down so it can't be heard and not letting it be spoken. This, in some ways, feels like that. When you start doxing people because of who they support, you're basically trying to shame them into not supporting them anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, Rob. We've got to tamp down this rhetoric on both sides. When the president tweets that the press is the enemy of the people, when we see these recent shootings in El Paso, we don't know the motives necessarily behind the Dayton attack just yet. But there's something happening in our society and in our politics where people are just exhausted. Many of these SoulCycle folks, Equinox folks, think that this is their way of expressing themselves with their money and where they take their support. But again, we just need to tamp down this rhetoric and condemn it on both sides when it gets too out of control.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Kelly, to take the entire group of Trump voters, which is like half the country almost, Trump supporters, and put them in a box all together and label them as something, they seem to forget just how many. I mean, there were millions of people that voted for Barack Obama, a lot of them twice, and then voted for Donald Trump in 2016. I mean, that's a dangerous label. And do you risk doing the same thing they did in 2016, which is just alienating people and then losing an election?
Well, that is exactly what they're doing. Hillary Clinton called us a basket full of deplorables. And we have seen this week, after these horrific mass shootings, the mainstream media is also responsible for a lot of this heated rhetoric. On MSNBC, you've had the president called a neo-Nazi. Yesterday, the common reprise was that the president of the United States has blood on his hands. And then they get upset when he doesn't acknowledge that he's somehow a mass murderer of what they're calling him. This is getting over the top. This is not civil. When you're saying that you have Trump-inspired terrorism in El Paso, but you're completely ignoring the other side in Dayton, Ohio, these are sick individuals who've got their own reasoning. The solutions to solve mass shootings are going to be complex, and they need to be well thought out. There was a time when there was a 48-hour refrain after a massive tragedy like this, where people came together and people were united and people prayed for one another, and we tried to heal the country. The president tried to do that by by going out to both Dayton and El Paso. And meanwhile, you have Joe Biden choosing that very same day to basically call the president a white supremacist and his supporters a white supremacist.
There's been a lot, but you both make good points that both sides, I think, need to tamp it down. And that's the message that we got from a lot of the people we talked to yesterday. They'd like to just hear less of all of this from both sides. Guys, thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
All right.